Robust. Count. Yun, no? Good evening. Good evening. Sound check, sound check. Sana maayong gabi sa inyong mga tanan. Kunwari daw Ilonggo na ako. Good evening, good evening. Good evening, ladies and gentle people. Good evening, everyone. I hope each and every one of you have a wonderful and safe evening at home or wherever you are. Hopefully, nakapag-dinner na kayo. Pangyapon na kami. Mabilisan lang, as usual. I'll try to make this regular, maybe 15-20 minutes. For tonight, it's just lost in conversation. Most often than not, I don't know, we may have distorted. Would that be too strong of a word to use in this context? Have we lost yung value? Have we lost yung true meanings of certain things? Have we distorted the meaning to fit our own particular narrative? As one of the conversations, this was all spawned in the drive because we were traveling from Iloilo to Hamindan, which is in Rojas City. It's about an hour and a half drive. So it was me, Jo, her sister, and their mom, and it was a very healthy and jolly conversation. So somewhere along the way, we stepped on a topic which just stuck with me. I think this is a child, a child's responsibility towards their parents. It's not, I don't think it's right to use the term obligation. I think it's just a responsibility. So I'll try to discuss it in a short time as possible. If we need to have a part two, then we'll just do that. So during the conversation, we were throwing the ideas about, from a child's perspective, am I my parents' retirement plan? Is that how the child should see their responsibility towards their parent? Is it too much to ask to show gratitude or repay your your dues to your parents? Is it an obligation? How do you see it? I don't really see it as an obligation. You are not forced to. Maybe there are certain situations, but we will get into that later. As a child, is it too much to ask of your parents for you to take care of them after they have provided everything for you? We're talking about the responsibility of a parent. I don't intend to have my children take care of me in my old age, of course. I would love as best as I can equip them. This is how I feel it. This is how I see it as my own responsibility as a parent. My responsibility would be to equip, inform, and provide my children as best as I can so that they will survive when they venture out on their own in real life, outside of my purview, outside of my what's the term, outside of my umbrella or my protection, of course. So am I expecting, after it's all said and done, am I expecting for my children to take care of me? No, of course not. I don't expect them to look over me. If they do, thank you very much. However, they are not required to take care of me as I grow old, because I will at some point have to admit that I will be a burden to my children. I will be a burden to my, of course, especially if I get sick or things of that nature. That's why I am, as best as I can, trying to be fit to take care of myself for longevity, so that I will not be that burden to them. Financially, of course, I will have to safeguard, but everything that I do right now would be directed towards preparation of their future. So everything is done for them, as my parents did for me, up to the time where I decided to leave their umbrella when I ventured on my own. So it just saddens me that, through Reddit, through some social media networks, Facebook, or wherever, there are some groups, there are some individuals, or a group of individuals, that feel that they are being oppressed by their parents, feel that they are being obligated to cover the expenses of their parents, things of that nature. Now, let's look at it from two points of view. I am now a parent. I was also a child. I am also a child. I have a mother, which, as best as I can, I would do everything for her, up to a point that I can only provide. She never asks me for anything, but I do this willingly. I give this out of my love, out of my sense of responsibility, not as an obligation, but as a sense of gratitude. At least pay back all the times that I have caused them heartaches, headaches, and things of that nature. And it's my time to at least show in my own little way that I appreciate all of what they have done for me because they have been good parents to me. Of course, they were not perfect, but that's life. Now, Jo, her sister, and their mother expressed also their points of view, and it comes from the same. It comes from the same perspective. Now, if we skew it in let's say a different direction, let's say your parents are the worst parents in the world. They never took care of you. They threw you out. They left you for like an orphanage or things of that nature, or they did everything bad in your life. Is it is it too much of you being a human being to show gratitude of being given life? Of course, they let go of their responsibility towards you, but does that take your responsibility away from you to them? Not obligation, not an obligation, a responsibility. So we'll have to define that individually. I have a different meaning for a sense of responsibility, and you may have a different meaning to a sense of responsibility. Now, I just want to again go back to that situation. What if you have been a product of the worst parents in the world? Does that give you latitude to disregard your parents? That does that omit your responsibility being a human, not as a child, not as a person or whatever, but as a human being? Does that allow you to disregard basic human decency to take care of your parents when they need you? Now, again, the premise is these are the worst parents in the world. They left you, they threw you out, and things of that nature. They never took care of you. Does that allow you to turn your back on them? That's a question. Now, let's go back to the previous situation where you have the best parents. They sacrificed their whole life for your future. They sacrificed everything for you. They, of course, we know the economic situation in the Philippines. We know the situation that we we are not in a state of mind of a 401k mentality like in other countries where there is retirement in the long run, that after you work after a preset number of years, you will have something to fall back on in your old age. And you, before anything else, have been able to provide for your children good education, feeding them, clothing them, etc., in the course of your life. Most often than not, we are all paycheck to paycheck. So most of the parents, most of the demographics that we'll be talking about or we're talking about right now are doing the same. They are just living paycheck to paycheck, doing as best as they can to provide for you if you're a child, if your parents are paying for your tuition fee, if they're paying for your clothes, they're housing you, they're feeding you, is it their obligation to do that, or is it their responsibility to do that? Can they choose to ask you to move out at a certain age? I know that's not our social structure. However, in certain countries, when you hit a certain age, you're thrown out. You have to live on your own regardless, because that's where their responsibility ends. So, should there be an end to the responsibility, or should there be an end to an obligation of a parent to a child and the child to a parent? I'm just asking these questions. This is just lost in conversation. This is nothing too serious, but I just want you to understand that it will come a point in your life that you will become a parent, or your parent will need you. And I hope that you will find it in yourself to provide that responsibility to yourself. Not to them, but to yourself, to be a good human being. Basic human decency. Take care of your parents. They're not thinking of you as their retirement plan. That after you graduate, it's your obligation to take care of them. Send them to Paris, vacations, or whatever. I don't think that's how your parents are thinking. But I am not, of course, eliminating the possibility that there are certain parents that may have that in mind. Of course, let's be real. Let's be realistic enough to address that. That's the harsh reality of life. That's why I do my best as much as I can to present both sides of the story. Always both sides. And I'm just hoping that regardless of how your parents treat you, if they're good to you, if they're the worst kind or whatever, I hope you can find it in yourself to take care of them in one way or the other. At least be there to provide them as best as your ability. Of course, there are certain limits. It's not unlimited. It's not a bottomless pit of. And I hope that you won't do it. I just hope you won't do it out of like a distorted sense of gratitude. I hope not. I hope you do it because you are a product of decency. You have decency, I hope. I hope. And I I can only wish that in your time of need you will have that as well. Someone will do it out of decency, not because it is an obligation, a responsibility. It is just because it had to be done. No payback, no nothing, just payback. Just it had to be done, you know? I can only hope that that's from where you will be looking at, not out of bitterness, not out of a distorted sense of whatever. Just because you have to do it. It's because you, as a good human being, need to provide it. It's not. I also hope that you can distinguish between certain certain aspects of your responsibility. It can be abused, of course. If you're a good person, you can be abused. People will take advantage of you. That's why you will have to draw the line. That this is up to where I can go. If you cross further than this, then I will bite back. I will cut you off. because sometimes it's necessary. I hold one of the pearls my father left me when I was still a child, up to the time he died when I was 12 years old. One of the wonderful lessons he left me was, if you need to leave, leave. How can you help if you have no means of helping other people? If you're trying to save someone drowning and you don't know how to swim, you are not going to be able to help them. You will just kill yourself and that person as well. So I hope this was of some value for tonight. This will be followed maybe tomorrow or the next day. We'll see. Again, I hope that there was of some value to this. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. This is again Joey. Thank you very much, J-Man, Greyhead. Thank you very much, Buhuk. Ma'am Catherine, thank you very much, Ma'am Catherine Dabu. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate your answers and your interaction. Let's just read it. I'd love to read it. Siguro dapat nandiyan ka lang para sa parents mo. I mean, kahit ako, I wish nandiyan lang anak ko soon na need ko na sila pag na-deads ako. Ba't naman na-deads? Ano ba yan? Ganon mag-asikaso man lang. Um, Pareho din tayo ng paniniwala. Thank you very much, Sir Jayman Greyhead, for always supporting. Thank you very much and good evening, Sir Rain Mutok. Good evening. Good evening, Joy Legason. Loko-loko, naiintindihan mo ako. Ikaw pa. Okay. Sir Verdel, Sweet Dreams, thank you very much. Jakiro, thank you very much for watching. Good evening. Of course, I definitely agree with this. Ma'am Catherine Akil said that, I guess, we need to instill as parents to our children is love, support, and respect, because this is what they will provide us in return. Good evening, Sir Warren DG. Good evening. Sir Elcid Chong, good evening from Facebook. Sir Anito Villanueva, good evening. So this is the short rundown for today. Thank you very much. Thank you. Good evening. This is again Joey. Tonight is Lost in Conversation. So let's ask ourselves, what would we do and why would we do it? Is it out of obligation, responsibility? Is it necessary to be done? And what are we willing to tolerate? So, again, thank you very much. Have a wonderful and safe rest of your evening. I will see you again next time. Thank you. Thank you.